Hello and welcome to SHRP Talk, the show by washed up athletes for washed up athletes looking to be their best self. On today's episode, Jaden and I spent the first 10 to 15 minutes just catching up and talking about diet and some other things. And then we get into long distance running. Jaden educates me on all things running, kind of his experience and journey getting into running, how he's had to make changes to his body composition, what he's learned, how he's applied these things he's learned to his workouts and how he changes it up week to week. We talk about how he's adjusted his resistance training and body composition to accommodate his running goals and volume, and just get into some general overall benefits of not necessarily running, but doing cardio in general, making that a part of the routine. Just a ton of health, mental, physical benefits that come from incorporating cardio into the routine. And so he's got a lot of great takeaways for getting into running, but also just getting into cardio in general, some practical metrics and steps to get into that. And so just a good discussion. I know I learned a lot from his perspective as he's been doing this for a couple of years now, and good to just get more insight into the cardio and long distance running world from an expert himself. So hopefully some things you can take away, whether cardio or running is a part of your routine or not. It can be some things to maybe help with how you approach it, or if you don't include it at all, maybe this is a good nudge to get it involved into your routine, whether that's running, elliptical like me, or stair stepper, whatever that looks like for you. Just a lot of great benefits that we get into. So thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you enjoy. Before we get rolling with today's episode, I want to take a minute to tell you about SHRP Training. Snyder Health, Recovery, and Performance Training is designed for former college athletes to improve their physical, mental, and spiritual health. For only $12 a month, you can choose a training plan that is catered to your needs, interests, and goals, with new programs delivered each month through the TeamBuilder app. You'll also receive 24/7 messaging and feedback from coaches, access to an exclusive Discord to continually learn and be encouraged by others, a 20% discount on Thorne supplements, and access to the Sharp Edge, the ultimate guide to upgrading your diet, sleep, and life. Iron sharpens iron, so let us help you become your sharpest self. Now let's go. Worked out this morning, and not really much else. Made a lot of pancakes.
Do you make a week's worth, or what do you do with that?
Oh yeah, minimum. It's a lot.
Do you freeze some, or do you fridge them all?
I fridge them. I don't put eggs or anything in them, so I'm not too worried about them going bad.
Right.
I haven't had any adverse experiences yet, but your pancakes were good?
Yeah, they were really good. Yeah, I've made them twice since. They were really good. Threw a little cocoa powder in the last batch. Made it a little chocolatey. I tried some dates too, but you couldn't really taste the dates. But I thought it might add like a caramel, but it didn't.
Interesting. You do a lot of sweet potato stuff?
There's some good sweet potato chips that I normally incorporate into my diet. Emily will make some sweet potato fries every once in a while, but yeah, it's been a good vitamin A source for me, and just like beta carotene, stuff like that. But you could also do like carrots or pumpkin, something orange that's not an actual orange.
I don't know if I have any of that. Orange in the diet.
Just trying to cover the rainbow, you know.
Does cantaloupe count?
Ooh, I'm not sure. I do not like cantaloupe.
That's what I do if I don't have any pineapple available. Which is tragic. Not as good, but
No.
it's a decent consolation, I suppose.
Do you like muskmelon too?
Is that the green one?
I think.
I'll eat it. Nowhere near the top 5 fruits.
No.
What's your top 5?
Pineapple's up there. I just throw berries all together up there. Probably Probably more blueberry, raspberry, but maybe strawberry. Maybe orange.
Oranges are so much work.
They're so good though.
I never get them.
Dates have kind of crept up there, but they're super. If you like caramel, they're super caramel-like.
Huh. Interesting.
Grapes are up there, but it takes a good batch. Like, I feel like grapes go bad pretty fast. I don't know. I think that's about it. Probably blueberry, raspberry, grape, pineapple, orange.
No strawberries?
I like the flavor more, like a strawberry shake, but like the strawberry itself, I'd prefer a raspberry. I would say.
It used to be the same way. I don't know if it was the texture or what, but was never a strawberry guy. But you've grown on me big time.
Yeah.
That and pineapple both.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I think good strawberry and pineapple can't be topped, in my opinion. Bananas are always safe.
Bananas in your top 5?
Oh, yeah.
So you're banana, strawberry, pineapple.
Pineapple. Probably good grapes. And then, I don't really know. Maybe like mixed berries. Mixed berries I don't usually do by themselves, but great in yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Veggies, I can't even do a top 5 because don't meet the criteria.
I'm in the same boat, brother. Sweet potato is a vegetable. Fun fact.
Yeah. It's maca. Maca count?
I don't know.
I'd say so. It's a root. Comes from.
I got broccoli. I don't in a smoothie, but
Do you do a specific kind of broccoli?
not really. I mean, I've seen florets or sprouts or just cuts. I've done all 3. I think there's more sulforaphane in the stem, so I think like that's a really beneficial part of broccoli. But I've also seen broccoli sprouts are good too. I typically don't see broccoli sprouts as often, at least in the frozen section. But
Yeah.
I think
You told
it's
me to
all
look out
good.
for them. I've never seen them, so I didn't know if I was missing out on anything.
No, it's all good, to be honest.
No spinach, though, huh?
No,
What was the reason again? I just took you at
it's
your word.
super high in oxalates, which aren't great for your kidney. Higher likelihood of getting like kidney stones.
We don't want that.
Yeah, but some people handle oxalates well, and they aren't very inflammatory. But it depends on the person. They just not for me.
Fair.
But do you still do spinach in yours?
Typically broccoli, unless I can't find any, or I don't know. But I've gone to more broccoli now.
Yeah.
Haven't noticed a taste difference, which I was a little worried about at first.
I threw some Brussels sprouts in mine this week just because I needed a little more folate, and it's like same category as broccoli, but that I could taste a little bit more in the smoothie than broccoli. So wasn't a great taste.
Mm-hmm.
But
freaking love ChatGPT because instead of having to like log everything I eat, I just in like an app, you can just do a little back and forth. Be like, hey, this is what I eat day to day. Is there any big vitamins or minerals that I'm missing? You think?
Right.
So
It's
I
about
feel like
making
I have
it
most of the
easy.
bases covered, but
Yeah.
just want to get that little blood work or something done.
Are you
someday.
gonna?
Oh yeah, I just don't know when or where. Where
Yeah, I
would
probably
you-
will through Function Health the second I get a salary.
Yeah,
But I am making
use
negative money right now, so
yeah. I'll use my Huberman code function.
he promotes Function.
Yeah, that's the only one I know of. I figured that's why you said it. But
Gotcha. No, I like the founder of it. I've read his books, and he's really big in the functional
which
medicine
is
space. Mark Hyman.
Okay, yeah, that's familiar.
Yeah, he's a smart dude.
Yeah, someday, maybe a birthday or Christmas present.
I'm kind of just curious what my testosterone is, to be honest. I've
Yeah,
never,
me too. Honestly, same. It's all that
never.
matters. I don't care about any of that other stuff.
I mean, I do, but that's a bonus. But especially with it, I wish I had gotten it tested when I played football, when I was like just strength training and just like meathead, and then what it would be when I get tested later after running a bunch. Because I'm guessing it'll be lower, but who knows?
I mean, I wish I could. I mean, maybe this will come soon, but like something you can test all the time, because like they say maca root powder is supposed to like naturally increase it, but it'd be fun to actually test like a before and after, like keep
Right.
everything else controlled so you know if it actually does or not. But I feel like that's coming. That's got to be what, within 10 years, being able to test
Yeah.
like that, some sort
More
of,
accessible.
yeah.
Even just like I was thinking earlier this week, they do like the continuous glucose monitors. I feel like they could do that with a lot of things in the blood that are like nutrient related, or even just like blood pressure. I don't even see like blood pressure that you can, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that will eventually come in the health and fitness space that is more readily available and you can see fluctuations over time, kind of like the glucose. But yeah, we'll see.
Do I wait until it's cheap or
Right.
do I just
Because I
bite
think
the
Function
bullet?
does, it's like a $500 annual thing, and you get basically one at the start of the year and then one halfway through. So it's like two a year. And I think the second one is maybe only like 50 or 60 instead of 100 on the
Mm-hmm.
panel. But yeah, I mean, that would just be cool to see year over year how you compare.
I have an HSA, like a health savings account from my college jobs, and I thought I could maybe use that because I kind of just have it sitting there. I thought I could maybe use that for blood work, but I think it has to be ordered by a doctor. Like I couldn't just go through Function or someone independent. So that's too bad. I
Yeah.
thought I stumbled upon greatness accidentally, but it's all right.
Yeah.
How was your symposium? Running symposium?
Yeah. It was basically a Zoom event, a bunch of different speakers. I think there was 5 different speakers, all like an hour and 15 minutes, but it was interesting. There was like a footwear one, spine and pelvis mechanics one, strength training for runners one. Um, there was a nutrition one with like REDS, if you've heard of that, relative energy deficit syndrome.
Nope.
Um, and just like evaluating and treating runners, basically like PT. So yeah, 5 of those, all good speakers. Learn some
Is that
stuff.
school related or your own thing?
Yeah, so our like student organization puts it on,
Oh,
invites a bunch of speakers, and we get to do it for free, and people can pay to like hop on and listen. Like there's, I think, quite a few clinicians that I don't know if it was like $100, but yeah, students get it for free, so that's cool.
pretty nice for you.
Yeah,
Anything you're going to apply yourself or anything for your own routine you learned?
there was some interesting stuff on spine and pelvis mechanics. We just got done with that. The dude was formerly worked at like a Rock Valley physical therapy, but now he works out in Oregon with like Nike and like that training complex. So has worked with like Olympic athletes and stuff. So yeah, just like general concepts, things to look for regarding like forward lean and rotation and stuff like that. Nutrition was a lot about the red stuff, which isn't super relevant for me. It's more common in like adolescent females. It's just basically not eating enough and then seeing the fallback of whether that's stress fractures or like just bone degradation or all the effects of malnutrition. The evaluation and treatment was good, just like tests and measures you do in a clinic and stuff like a single foot hop test for a minute to know if someone's ready to return to running, stuff like that. Strength training, let me think. That was the very first one of the day. Talked a lot about like plyometrics, like weekly schedule with strength training and harder sessions. Training like a heavier load instead of training like a runner. So like 40% of a 1 rep max, like training like 80 to 90% 1 rep max has more improvement on running economy than like a typical endurance training program would, like a bunch of reps and not very much weight. So, yeah, just a lot of those good stuff. Strength training is important and beneficial for runners, even though it might make them a little more sore early on and take away from some mileage. But in the grand scheme of things, it'll help stay healthier and build stronger bones and improve running mechanics and economy and efficiency and increase the health of tendons and all that good stuff. Yeah, it was good.
Does that like spine and pelvis stuff, is it mainly for long distance running, or does it apply to like, do they get like sprinting and stuff as well? Or
He said it's kind of apples and oranges for sprinting versus longer distance. He was talking more 800 meters and up probably. But yeah, just like if someone's restricted in pelvic rotation or has pelvic hip or like contralateral hip drop, like certain things to look for and common injuries based on those presentations and cues you can use to help. Yeah, but definitely more longer distance and like recreational athletes.
yeah, I'm more fascinated by the sprinting side, sprinting mechanics. I think that's really interesting, kind of from a performance perspective. But yeah, I don't know, kind of the rotation aspect and whether that plays a role in all that, as well as like pelvis position, pelvic tilt, and all that. I know that's debates with that and stuff. So I don't know, stuff's interesting.
Yeah.
Whatever got you down the running rabbit hole? Because I don't imagine you did a whole lot of long distance running in high school or college. What where'd that itch come from?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not a natural runner. I was a kid that dreaded the mile during the physical fitness test in PE, but only did it to try and get that presidential status. I don't think I ran a
sit and
mile.
reach.
I don't think I ran over a mile the first 20 years of my life. And the next time I ran a mile was another fitness test in college with one of those kinesiology classes with Bauma. And that was horrible. So, but just got to a point like after I wrapped up college football and baseball, I was looking for something to continue training and being competitive with. And that's when I naturally fell into running. Around that same time, I was taking a exercise physiology class with Dean Callsbeak. Shout out Dean Callsbeak. He was a fantastic teacher, made a lot of complex information pretty easy to understand, and opened the doors to concepts like VO2 max, respiratory quotient, aerobic, anaerobic systems, metabolism, a lot of things that really helped me understand like the physiology behind performance and running. And that kind of unlocked the gate of wanting to know more and apply it in my own body. And yeah, naturally I just began applying that to my own training as this brand new runner. But the thing was, I was definitely not a textbook runner, like look or weight. Right, I was coming out of football as a 250-pound safety, built for power and speed and fast twitch muscles and heavy lifting. and shifting to that style of training that's slow twitch, long endurance, fat adapted. Like the body was just not ready for that, especially like my soleus took a while to keep up. And it was just a massive transition. So it took a long time for me to do stuff like holding zone 2 heart rates. Was hard for a while because the heart rate would just jump up because it's so used to that glycolytic system and using carbs as fuel. So it was hard during base runs just to keep the heart rate low, and my lower legs definitely had to adapt to the pounding. Right, running is like 6 times our body weight over and over and over again. And as someone who was used to sprinting and not used to that type of load outside of just walking, it definitely took a long time. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see the physiological concepts play out in real time. And then once I got into PT school at Iowa, the passion only deepened, right? Learning even more about anatomy and kinesiology and physiology and gait mechanics and all the just intricacies of the human body, took things to another level. And around the same time, heard about a mile race hosted by the Carver College of Medicine with a bunch of PT students and med students and dental students, with like $1,000 prize for the winner, and just gave me something to actually train for with running because I hadn't had that. So it was just all just applying concepts. So wasn't near in the kind of shape to try and win a race like that the first year, but thought maybe the next year I could have a chance. And then they ended up not even having it the next year. But it's funny because like the process itself became the reward in a way. Like what started as chasing that performance and that monetary prize actually turned into something that is a passion and something that I'm genuinely interested in. And so now it like combined my passions for movement, nutrition, the human body, recovery, physiology, and it just made me more curious and more passionate to figure out more and help educate others so they can do the same with their own training. So that's kind of the story of how I got into it, to the point that I am now. But yeah.
For me, like the strength training side, the reason it's, I guess I kind of have that same, just love the process of it. I think part of that's being able to like do a ton of different variations and change things and keep it fresh. Do you feel like you can do that with running? Like, does it ever get monotonous?
I would say it depends how you train, right? Like if you're just training long endurance and you're just doing base runs every single day, it can probably get pretty monotonous, especially in the winter in Iowa on a treadmill, running the same speed over and over again every single day. Like that can get monotonous. But with the like training for a mile race, like you have to incorporate lactate threshold and tempo and VO2 max training. And there's just a bunch of different ways you can mess with heart rate zones and mess with different timed intervals and recovery times and just mess with what works for you and what you're seeing improvement with. So it's almost like a trial and error every single time you go out because you're testing your own body and seeing what you're able to adapt to and what you like and what you don't, and what maybe your cardiorespiratory system's a little bit better shape than your lower legs are. So you have to do a little bit less loading on the cardiorespiratory side and more loading on the body aspect. So maybe you have to go at slower speeds than you want, and just do that over time. But I've found it super interesting to kind of get into the weeds to see what research is out there on heart rate zones and lactate zones and what we have found just throughout the history of running, because we've been running for forever, right? Like humans were born to run, we're made to run. So it's been studied for a long time, and just seeing how I can apply the science in my own training, how I can both listen to my body, but also be analytical and be data driven with heart rate zones, with RPE, with interval times. So it's been really, I'm kind of a nerd about it. I've grown to love the data side of it, and seeing how it relates with paces, with feel, and just seeing progress over time. Like you can really gamify it, especially if you have, like I have a Garmin, like you have like a 5K race predictor, 10K race predictor, so you can see those improve over time. You have like an endurance score, so you can see that improve over time. It shows you a VO2 max, like just like a guesstimate based on previous training sessions. So it gives you a lot of things that you can gamify it and see progress over time. And you can also see like the detriment of what not training does to those. Like it always goes away faster than it comes, right? So you know the cost of taking time off and just wanting to be consistent and see those slow progress over time. It's cool. It's been really fun to dive in and learn and apply. It's been cool.
I'm a big elliptical guy. That's my cardio. None of this running stuff, but I think that's what keeps it engaging for me too, or kind of gamifying it is having like heart rate zones to go off of, or specific calories to burn, or time intervals. So switching that up, but also just having different targets to shoot for. That what I personally have found makes it more fun rather than just doing the same, continuous zone two, whatever, every day. I know you have your heart rate monitor. How much, I guess, how often are you basing off heart rate versus time versus like lactate, VO2 max? Like, what are you basing most of it off of? Or is it kind of all of those?
So like my base run days, like today, I basically know the heart rate that I'm trying to stay within on my base runs. Like I'm trying to be upper zone two. I know like the numbers, so I can mainly I assess based on how I'm feeling, two, how I'm breathing, three, how my heart rate's responding, and four, kind of by paces. So like those four, I can kind of judge like how fast I should be running based on that day to achieve the adaptation or the stimulus that I want. So those days are easy. Like I wouldn't even need to look at my watch if I like didn't have to. Like I could do it without a heart rate now because I've done it for so long. As I get more as I get more into the intervals, the tempo workouts, the threshold and VO2 max, those I definitely um I base it off of like 5K pace, 10K pace, half marathon pace, like stuff like that. So I know those paces and I know the rough heart rate ranges of those paces and what zones I should be hitting for those um, intervals. And I know based on some research that I've done, like suggested time periods for those intervals. So I know like effort and like how long I should have those intervals. So like fartlek style workout will be longer than a VO2 max interval, or like a lactate threshold will be like trying to build lactate. So you're going really fast for not very long and then you're recovering and then you're doing it again. But I've I've messed with ways to kind of incorporate a lot of things into a workout. I think it's kind of an art to um, programming for running because it's trying to make the most out of the limited time you have, because it's a lot of pounding, right? Like you don't have unlimited time to practice. Like it's not like golf where you could practice hours on end. Like it's something that takes a lot of CNS fatigue and something you have to be super careful with your time if you want to make the most of it. So I've been dabbling with just messing with workout intervals and trying to make sure I get a lot of different stimulus and adaptations. So it's been interesting. The programming side has, but yeah.
Two questions. What's your breathing look like during it? Like, are you trying to nasal breathe, or are you changing it up depending on the intensity? And then, what was the second one? Maybe I'll think of it. You can answer that first.
Breathing for me, um, if I'm inside on a treadmill, I could nasal breathe the entire time on like a base run. Like I'll just do 4 steps on an inhale, 4 steps on an exhale, try to keep it super repetitive and something that after you do it for 2 minutes and you get the pattern you don't even need to think about. So that's kind of my go-to. Like you could do 4-4, you could do 5-5, but once you get kind of to 3-3 and below, you're getting more towards like harder intensities, higher outputs. So once I get outside, I'll do more nose in, mouth out. I'll do that basically regardless of intensity. I'll inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. But just the rate at which I do so with different intensities will change. So baseline, and that's a way to gauge intensity, right? Like if I can breathe 4-4, like I know that I'm at a zone 2 pace. But if I get to a point where I'm struggling to do 4-4, I know that I'm either need to crank it back if I'm trying to do a base run, or I know I'm in the right spot if I'm trying to increase the intensity. So that's a way that I kind of gauge intensity and do that. But people have variances. Some people like 5-5 or 6-6. It just depends on what you're kind of used to. But
I remembered my other one. You were talking about like CNS fatigue and overdoing it. Has there been like a specific workout when you've overdone it, or like a week of training where you know you've overdone it? And like, I know for a weight room, kind of the overtraining thing, like some kind of signs and symptoms of that. But what's that look like from the running side if you've had that?
I mean, you always try and mess with the line of how much high intensity stuff you can do before you hit that CNS wall, right? Like I've tried working out harder intensity intervals like back to back days, and it's just like it's hard to do, right? Partly because you get too sore, and partly because CNS fatigue. So I think there's a balance. I know there's certain weeks where if I try to do time trials, or if I try to do too much just pushing the needle on some of that threshold stuff, like getting to heart rates 90 to 95% and trying to do intervals over and over again, like I know that I'm probably going to pay the price either tomorrow or the next week. So I mean, I think it's important to space out higher intensity sessions. I think 2 to 3 a week is pretty standard amongst like running populations. I think if you're pushing 4 to 5 higher intensity sessions, you got to kind of take a look at how you feel and how your body feels. But I found 3 to be kind of a sweet spot, especially because my like mileage isn't super high and I'm trying to do more higher paced work. So there's a lot of work rest ratio stuff. But
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna ask something. I don't know if it's gonna make a lot of sense. I feel like as I've been more consistent with cardio, like resting heart rate has gone down, but also heart rate during it. Like I have to do more work to get a higher heart rate. Have you experienced that as well? And is it almost harder in a sense that you have to work or push harder to elevate your heart rate higher? Or have you experienced that at all from the running side?
yeah, I mean, there's a trade off, right? So my heart rate has definitely gotten lower. Like I'm pushing low 40s, upper 30s. Like I definitely, like when I started, my zone 2 pace was like 10 to 12 minutes and I barely could keep it in zone 2. And now I'm like 8-minute base run pace. And so you literally just evolve over time, and it doesn't necessarily get easier because you have to go faster, right? So it can be, I would say the first 3 to 5 minutes are always kind of going to suck, right? Like it always takes a little bit to kind of wake up your body. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's you feel good right away. But I would say the difference is after that initial warm up, once your body kind of settles in, I feel like it's easier to get into a flow state and easier just to like get in the zone and kind of get that runner's high. Um, at least I've found that. Like I feel like when I first started, it was always just like, this sucks. Like, how long can I hold on? But like, once you get to a certain point, it's more so just like what you have. Like, I'm less worried about how long can I make it. And I'm more worried about like like how long should I? Like, it's not like the limitation is my cardiorespiratory system or my like fatigue. It's more so like what am I trying to achieve from this workout so that I can perform well tomorrow or get the adaptation that I need. So
Do you
it
miss
doesn't
any?
necessarily, it does get easier, but it doesn't necessarily get easier because you're
Yeah,
going faster.
yeah, makes sense. Um, do you miss? I guess what does your strength training look like now? Is it maintenance stuff, or do you still do some fast twitch stuff, or what does it look like? I know you said you go like twice a week.
Yeah. So my upper body's a lot of maintenance and body weight and free weight. Like you won't see me under a barbell really. I do a lot of cable and single arm um, stuff, a lot of just functional stuff to me, stuff that's applicable and stuff that I find enjoyable for upper body. And then lower body is kind of a mix because like my warm up in a way is kind of a training session, but not really. Like I'm doing a lot of body weight stuff and I'm doing a lot of single leg stuff. Like I'm doing a lot of close chain mobility through full ranges. Like I just don't have weight, but it's still like a stimulus. But there will be one day a week where I incorporate those plyos and more of a strength session. Um, and I'm not necessarily trying to build a lot of muscle right now. So ideally I'd probably do it twice, but I'm not necessarily looking for that stimulus right now. And I'm in more of a maintenance phase with my strength training. But yeah.
You ever miss just like repping a heavy bench or sending an Olympic lift or anything?
Um, I I don't know. I mean, it was fun back in the day to throw up some cleans. Um, I don't know if I can say I miss it a ton outside of just like the social aspect of hyping each other up and throwing some weight around. But yeah, I mean, if there was something, I would say it'd probably be cleans that I miss the most outside of. Yeah, I mean, STSU kind of scarred me from squatting,
That's fair.
so can't say I missed that a lot. But
I guess could you see yourself ever going back to that more,
Olympic style.
or just changing up how you train, or even like getting away from running more, going back to the weight room, or do you feel like this is something you'll continue with long term?
Um, I don't know if I see myself getting too deep in the weeds, especially not like strength training, like trying to get super, super strong and load up a bunch of weight. Like I don't see myself doing that necessarily. I do feel like I'll be running for a while and I do feel like I'll be golfing after that once I
Mm,
feel like I can't run anymore. So I'll probably
fair.
train for trying to hit the ball 400, but I mean, outside of that, I don't see myself getting into like some meathead stuff. No,
What
but who knows?
um body comp you're trying to get down to like 180, you said?
Yeah, 180 right now. I'm still like upper 180s, but I'll probably try to get to 180 by May ish,
And
mid May.
what were you weighing when you started doing this?
Like when I started first running, like after
Yeah.
football, probably 210, 215. So
What
that'd be
kind
a
of
30-pound difference.
what kind of difference has that made?
It's hard to compare. I feel like it's been so long. It's definitely easier. Like I actually feel like a runner now, instead of just thumping around. But I don't know. It's hard to compare. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Or even like, do you feel like your like body comp has changed, like not just weight loss but muscles in different areas, or losing muscles in certain places, or
Um, I don't know. It's hard to lose muscle for me, to be honest. I like both the lats and the thighs. I feel like just don't want to go away. So, I mean, I definitely have like smaller arms and smaller traps, and probably not as big of a neck. Um, but I mean, outside of that, it's I would say somewhat similar body comp wise. Probably not as I would just say not as hypertrophied. I don't know.
What the lower legs?
My calves are veiny and pretty toned, but I do a lot of calf raises and soleus raises and tib raises and a lot of the lower calf stuff. So they're in good shape.
Does each week look the same as far as your different types of like intensities and stuff, or is it like day by day, or how do you schedule it?
Weeks look pretty similar. I'll do basically 3 base runs, 3 higher intensity a week. I've been doing one. Like yesterday was more of I would say time trial, like pretty high intensity, not as long necessarily, but trying to get a feel for just seeing improvement, like making sure that what I'm doing is working, making like seeing progress over time. And then Sunday is more of a like longer threshold tempo, like trying to get like some good aerobic, anaerobic threshold work, and not necessarily like shorter intervals. So it's like 6 to 10 minute intervals instead of like 4 minute and shorter. And then Tuesday I'll kind of do like a all in one. So I'll try and kind of touch on every single zone. And it's definitely a longer, more intense session. It's probably like an hour and 20 minutes of some interval work. So that's definitely the longest day. That's probably the most CNS fatigue day, and that's why I don't run on Wednesday. So, yeah, I that's kind of the routine I'm in right now. It's been working. I've been on a consistent up with all my numbers, so it's been good. And it's nice that I can actually run outside now, so it's also helped.
That's big
because running very fast on a treadmill is a good way to get people staring at you, and I don't know, just a good way to stand out in the weight room.
I keep picturing you when you said you started just a 210 built guy, just going out for a run. People just being like, "This guy think he's doing? He doesn't belong."
But yeah, no, I didn't.
What do you listen to music or podcasts, or you just go quiet during them?
I do both. I don't love carrying my phone, so that deters me from listening to too many things. But if I'm on a treadmill, I'll typically probably listen to something just because it's pretty boring. But if I'm outside, I'd say I'm probably 80 to 90% not listening to anything and just going.
What do you listen to?
I watch a lot of YouTube, basically YouTube podcasts. Some like Peter Tia or Gabrielle Lyon or Lane Norton or Mark Hyman or Nick Bear, a lot of different podcasts or videos. I don't know. Find something. Don't look too long. Just press on something and press play and run.
How about the runs without anything? What's the mind going through there? Is it like meditating, or is it like this sucks, this burns, or what? What's the mental without listening to anything?
I kind of just let the mind roam, kind of let it do its thing. I kind of lock in on cadence and breathing early on, try to get into a good rhythm and try to get that flow state as early as I can. And then just kind of let the mind roam, look at the watch every once in a while to make sure I'm hitting paces or heart rate. Other than that, it's just like trying to stay relaxed and trying to be efficient and, just keep up a good cadence, keep good form. Yeah. Not a lot, but kind of let the mind take it where it wants to. You never know what idea is going to pop up. Trying to think of, I should write like a running journal or some sort of running thoughts notebook or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could do like a voice to text, but that's kind of hard while you're huffing and puffing.
Right.
Someday with AI or whatever, you'll just be able to
Talk to my
write
Garmin.
it down. Write a book someday. Thoughts while running.
Yeah.
What have you learned or gained from the journey so far?
Yeah. So I would say one of the biggest things I've learned is how running improves VO2 max. I feel like this is a huge metric in regards to cardiovascular health. It stands for the maximal amount of oxygen your body can consume, and it helps understand your body's ability to take in, transport, and use oxygen. It's one of the best indicators of longevity and cardiovascular fitness that we have, and it directly reflects the heart's ability to pump oxygen-rich blood to muscles during exercise and the muscle's ability to extract and use that oxygen. Like I mentioned, Peter Attia is somebody that I follow, and he associates VO2 max with a notable reduction in all-cause mortality, moving from the lowest quartile, which is like the bottom 25%, to below average, which is 25 to 50%. So not a huge increase, can reduce mortality risk by 50%. And then advancing to the above average category can reduce it by 70%. So pretty important metric. It's more, and it is a more accurate predictor of mortality than traditional risk factors such as smoking, hypertension, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. So like we see how much of an impact smoking has and what detriment it can be on health, but like VO2 max is more of an accurate predictor of lifespan and longevity than something like smoking. VO2 max typically peaks between the ages of 20 and 30 and naturally declines with age, decreasing roughly 10% per decade. However, engaging in regular aerobic and high intensity interval training can effectively boost VO2 max. So you can preserve the fitness. It doesn't have to necessarily decrease over time. It's just that the disuse and natural detraining that comes with age that shows this decrease in VO2 max. But establishing a higher VO2 max can obviously offset this as well if you do have a natural decline. So making it as high as you can, as early as you can, is important.
What's yours?
It's estimated around 55 to 60 right now. I've done 2 bike tests. When I did a bike test at Northwestern, it was like 49-ish. When I did a bike test here, it was like 52 or 53, but my Garmin estimates it like 56 right now. So it's on the up and up.
Boy.
It says while genetics can influence VO2 max, it can still improve by 15 to 20% at any age through consistent endurance training. For example, an untrained 25-year-old male will typically have a VO2 max of around 42, with women being slightly lower, typically about 20% lower at 36. By age 75, it drops to about 21, but a minimum of 17.5 is needed for just independent lifestyle. So that's playing it close with like the amount of oxygen it takes to just move on a daily basis. But elderly individuals have shown to experience a 30% increase in VO2 max after just 12 weeks of training. So it's never too late to begin endurance training and trying to increase your VO2 max. Research shows that even small improvements in VO2 max can significantly reduce mortality. For instance, a 1 milliliter per kilogram per minute increase in VO2 max correlates with a 9% decrease in all-cause mortality. So just a 1 point increase is still like a 10% decrease in all-cause mortality, which is pretty huge. Current guidelines suggest like 75 minutes of high intensity or 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week. However, even shorter durations can provide benefit. Running just 5 to 10 minutes per day is linked to a 30% reduction in all-cause mortality and 45% reduction in cardiovascular mortality. So even just 5 to 10 minutes a day is huge, especially if you're consistent over time. While steady state aerobic training like long distance running is effective in improving VO2 max, studies show that high intensity interval training, such as the Norwegian 4x4, is typically recommended. So it's basically 4 sets of 4 minutes, basically all out. What you can do in 4 minutes, so like at the end of the 4 minutes, you should be huffing and puffing like towards your maximal breathing rate, basically. That that method has been shown to produce greater improvements than just like a steady state long run. And then, to measure VO2 max, you can do a laboratory test on either a treadmill or a bike based on whatever your typical endurance method is. Or you can do some different tests that measure it. There's like a Cooper 12-minute run test that you can estimate it, or there's like a step test you can estimate it, or you can use, I think Whoop has a VO2 max estimator now. Garmin watches have it. I think a Coros watch has it. But yeah, there's different ways to
Apple Watch has one based
estimate
off
it.
of walking, which I don't really like.
Apple
based
does
off walking.
based off walking.
Yeah. I don't really like
that. I don't know how accurate that is, but there's definitely a bunch of different ways to measure it. But that's probably the most important metric that I look at. It's not something that necessarily increases rapidly. Like, it's definitely a slow increase over time. But like I said, like 1 point increase is huge. So the test is usually, like how I envision it, typically the test to find what your VO2 max is a good way to train it, right? So like typically you're trying to get in an 8 to 12 minute window what your maximal oxygen consumption is. Like, that's what the test is. So they do a ramp protocol, whether it's increasing speed or the incline on the treadmill slowly over 8 to 12 minutes, and you're trying to get to that output that you can't basically run on the treadmill any longer because you're out of breath. Sometimes you hit like lactic acid buildup quicker than you hit VO2 max threshold. So it really is important to do the right protocol and be warmed up prior. But I've done a lot of like the Norwegian 4x4s. I do a lot of just higher intensity intervals ranging from 3 to 6 minutes and just repeat. That 4-minute rest can be a 4-minute walk. So you're doing 4-minute work, 4-minute walk, 4-minute work, 4-minute walk, and doing that 4 times. So that's an easy way to do it. It sucks, obviously, because you're doing 4 minutes at basically all out pace for that 4 minutes. Not like sprinting, but like you obviously want to pace yourself. Like, you don't want to be dead at 2 minutes, but something that by the end of 4 minutes, you're close to like within 10% of your max heart rate. So pretty intense, but good stuff. So that's the first benefit that I thought I'd bring up. The next one is more into mitochondria, getting into the powerhouse of the cell here. Do you have any follow-up on VO2 max? I didn't really ask.
I wish there was one for the elliptical, because I feel like mine on a treadmill would be atrocious, but I think if you put me on an elliptical, I could run with the best of them. So I'm curious if it's task specific or how accurate that would be, I guess.
They do you definitely can. It's just finding the right protocol and having the equipment to, like, they have a VO2 master. It's like a portable basically measurement that you can do. And ideally someday I'll have one. They're really super expensive, but if I ever do VO2 max testing or lactate testing, I think that would be really cool to have. But we'll see. One day I'll get you a VO2 max on an elliptical. We'll push the 60s. We'll see the 60s. Either you're seeing the 60s or you're seeing stars, and you're passing out because I'm not letting you stop.
All right, benefit 2.
Let's get into mitochondria. So endurance training significantly enhances mitochondrial health through various adaptive processes. Improving mitochondrial health is crucial for overall health, metabolism, energy production, and disease prevention. Mitochondria, often referred to as the powerhouses of the cell, are responsible for producing the majority of cellular energy in the form of ATP. So for those that don't know what ATP is, that's your energy source. That's what we're using for energy. Healthy mitochondria can efficiently switch between different fuel sources depending on the body's needs, which improves metabolic flexibility. So for runners, this is huge because at slower paces, we're using more of fat as fuel. So anywhere, I'd say below 70% of heart rate max, you're probably using a lot of fat as fuel. And then you want to be effective at switching to carbohydrates when you need to, because that's more of your higher intensity fuel. So when that time comes, like you want to, especially in a race, you want to use as much as that fat adaptive and fat as fuel as you can, so that you have the carbohydrates you need when you need to ramp it up. But well-functioning mitochondria also help to improve insulin sensitivity, which is huge in regulating blood sugar. So huge for those that may be struggling with like diabetes. It's helpful for mitochondrial biogenesis, so just having more mitochondria in your muscle and in your heart. And there's something called PGC1 alpha. It's like the master regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. And this is just upregulated with endurance exercise. And yeah, you just basically increase your body's ability to handle oxidative stress. Yeah. And then it also increases mitophagy, which is basically autophagy, but for mitochondria. So you're getting rid of the bad mitochondria, and you're just selectively getting the damaged mitochondria out, so you can be more efficient at handling oxidative stress, and it prevents a buildup of malfunctioning mitochondria. And if you have a lot of dysfunctional or a buildup of bad mitochondria, it can contribute to things like dementia or neurodegenerative disorders, metabolic conditions, stuff like that. And then it just helps you with energy and using energy efficiently. So mitochondrial health is benefit number 2. Anything on that?
Powerhouse of the cell.
Powerhouse of the cell. Yeah, and then number 3 is pretty obvious. It's good for your heart, good for your lungs, right? We see a lot of benefit. Cardiovascular disease is the number 1 killer worldwide. Like, this is the number 1. So huge for those that may have a family history of cardiovascular disease, or just want to have a healthier heart, have a healthier lungs. It lowers the resting heart rate, which helps manage blood pressure levels. And a lower resting heart rate is one of the markers of cardiovascular fitness. It improves vascular health, enhancing blood flow, increasing the elasticity of blood vessels, and improving vessel lining integrity. In a study with more than 5,000 men and women over a 30-year period, the risk of heart attack was reduced by 30 to 50% in those that regularly did aerobic exercise. So yeah, pretty important for heart and lung health. Next, let's get into sleep and recovery. So numerous studies have shown that aerobic exercise improves sleep quality, reducing the time it takes to fall asleep, and enhances the restorative aspects of sleep by increasing time in deep sleep. So there was a study in Sleep Medicine Reviews in 2017 that found that moderate aerobic exercise significantly reduced sleep onset latency, which is the time it takes to fall asleep, by 45%, which is a lot. Another study found that people with insomnia who engaged in moderate exercise had a 30% reduction in their sleep latency. And then another study showed that aerobic exercise led to a 20% improvement in sleep efficiency, which is like not waking up in the middle of the night, with participants spending more time in deep sleep or restorative sleep. And another study showed that an increase in deep sleep ranged from 15 to 25% on regular endurance exercisers. So those impacts on sleep are huge, especially in a society that doesn't necessarily sleep the best, and is in an environment that doesn't necessarily support healthy sleep with our devices and just lifestyles. But kind of with that sleep is recovery, right? So another key benefit is reduction in DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness, likely due to better circulation, fast removal of waste products, and improved mitochondrial function. A study found that recovery times were reduced by 30 to 40% in trained runners, indicating that aerobic exercise promotes faster recovery following strenuous activity. And another study showed that endurance training reduced like the inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and IL-6, if you're familiar with those. And these are commonly elevated after intense exercise, but they're decreased in endurance training. So if you want to sleep better, want to recover better, regardless of the activity, if it's strength training or whatever it may be, endurance training can help. On to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Next is cognition, brain health. So endurance exercise has been shown to improve a wide range of cognitive functions, including memory, attention, executive function, and processing speed. And it does this, a lot of it's increasing the size of structures in your brain, like the gray matter in your brain. So like the hippocampus, which helps improve memory performance, is shown to basically not like hypertrophy, but grow in size. Another long-term study found significant improvements in verbal memory and spatial memory in those who engage in regular endurance exercise for 6 months. One of the most significant cognitive benefits is its promotion of neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections, and neurogenesis, which is the formation of new neurons. It releases BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, if you've ever heard of that. It's a protein that supports the growth and survival of neurons. Higher BDNF is linked to better cognitive function and improved learning ability. So yeah, it's really important for both cognitive ability and memory. And it also, on the back end, reduces cognitive decline. So a study found that regular physical activity had a 30 to 40% reduction in the risk of developing Alzheimer's. So if you don't want cardiovascular disease or neurodegenerative disease, it's important to be proactive and do some endurance exercise to increase your brain health and your heart health and your vascular system and lung system and all the good things. Anything on that? No? Next, endurance exercise has been shown to reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety, another area of popularity. Several studies show that aerobic exercise significantly reduces depressive symptoms and lowers the levels of anxiety. And one of the most well-known benefits is the runner's high that I've mentioned earlier. The sensation is primarily attributed to the release of endorphins. It can also lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol and increase the feel-good hormone serotonin and the reward-seeking hormone dopamine. So those things can all impact mood for the better and help you out on that part. I've talked, I think, previous podcasts, just the importance of sweating and detoxification. That's another benefit. Sweat is really good at getting things like heavy metals out of your system, so your liver and kidney doesn't have to deal with it, basically. And studies have demonstrated that aerobic exercise enhances the liver function by producing enzymes involved in detoxifying things like drugs and alcohol and other toxic compounds. So doing the job yourself and sweating out some of those toxins can help your other organs actually do their job and detoxify from more harmful things. So I thought that was cool. And then some other benefits just include stuff like chronic pain management, improved immune function, improved gut health, improved hormone balance, increased mental resilience and stress tolerance, improved body composition, weight management, reduced risk of cancer, increased bone density, support for healthy skin, and just goes on and on. So a lot of them.
Good stuff. Do cardio, people.
Mm-hmm.
I know I wasn't much of a priority for me until honestly maybe like a year ago, just because I learned more about all those things you listed. And yeah, I've seen a lot of that: lower resting heart rate, better sleep, better recovery, all that stuff. And I mean, it doesn't take up a huge piece of my training. I'll do like 3 times a week, just 20 to 30 minutes on the elliptical, and then I'll do zone 2 day for an hour once a week, and simple as that, and get a lot of those benefits. But yeah, obviously running great for that as well. So do some cardio, mix it into the routine. I guess maybe to cap it off, what kind of advice would you give if someone is wanting to get into running, or they're just starting off? Maybe some guidance, some things you learned from getting into it more. Footwear, protocols, how many days a week they should do it. Just some practical stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we all start somewhere. It's hard to generalize. It's hard to know without knowing age or training history or all that, because it's something that it takes time to ease into. If you don't have a history of running or don't have a history of strength training, or aren't very knowledgeable on the topic, it can be a slow and at times difficult process to get into, but you see the benefits on the back end. So I think it's super important, especially in today's society, that you can look up YouTube videos, you can look up good sources of what you should and shouldn't do, based on whether that's footwear or training or strength training. Finding good sources, right? Not necessarily just clicking on the first video, but doing your research and seeing who are the experts on the topic, who's done it, like who is running themselves, like who's doing the thing, who's talking about, or who's doing what they preach. But yeah, I think footwear wise, everybody's got a different foot. I think going to a foot store and getting some measurements done, knowing what shoe works for you. I know there's a lot of like online quizzes you can also do if you know some things about your own feet, which I hope you do. As far as volume and intensity, obviously not starting with a lot. I would start like 2 to 3 times a week max. Maybe it could be once, right? Like it could be, I'm just going to go for a run this week and see how my body feels. But I would not push it, especially early on, to try and run 4 times a week. But yeah, it's definitely something that you ease into. I would really listen to your body early on, because you're going to be sore and that comes with it. But it's the same with strength training, right? It's progressive overload. It's specific adaptations to imposed demands. We're trying to be super specific and progressive over time, and trying to have that stimulus, but not overdoing it and getting to the point where we get overuse injuries, because those will always set us back farther than where we want to be. So it's hard to generalize. I would say reach out for help if you're confused or don't know where to start. There's a ton of resources out there, but yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. Warmer weather coming, people. Get outside. Get to stepping. I'm not going to, but you should. Or do some sort of cardio. But running's a great one. Thanks for dropping some knowledge bombs, brother. Anything else?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think we're good.
Cool. All right, people. Cool. Till next time. Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a rating, review, or tell a friend to check us out. Be sure to follow us at SHRP_training for more content to help you be your best self. Go be great today.